me?
Yeah, my heart rate just went up though. I can feel it.
I can feel it. Cheers. Think.
Cheers.
Oh, damn, I forgot the clapper, but this will be episode 201 of the No Hangover podcast. With you as always, it is your boy Eric. What's good? Checking in once again. And I have a guest with me today, my wonderful older sister, Rachel.
Hello.
This is not her first time on, but her second time. So if, oh wait, actually, I don't think that episode is up anymore. So this is pretty much her first time, essentially. Reintroduction, kind of, if you've been following for a while. If not, then here we are once again. So how are you? How's everything going?
Good. I mean, I've been here with you for the last few days.
Yes.
Having a good time with the fam bam.
It is Christmas time. Well, just past. Holiday season is drawing to a near or an end.
A close.
There you go.
That's what you were looking for. It's drawing to a close.
But
on the precipice of a new year.
Truly 2025. Thinking about that, like when you started like 2030, 2040, 2055, like those numbers sound so futuristic and weird, but it's like it's not that far away anymore. Like imagine like people in the like 60s and 70s like thinking about what the future was going to be like, and in the year 2030 like shit's going to be wild.
The Jetsons. It was going to be the Jetsons.
Yeah, and here we are still not having flying cars yet.
I mean, yeah, not in the Jetsons type of way for sure. I think there's like a lot of prototypes though
for sure
flying cars.
I know they're already testing out like flying taxis in certain places and shit like that, which is just Uber at this point. I don't know why.
It's just Uber.
For real. I mean, we've seen taxis fade away because of Uber. We've seen like Blockbuster and Redbox fade away because of Netflix and things like that.
Redbox. I forgot about Redbox.
And that was like this year, I think, or last year that they went out. Party City, they're closing down all their stores too.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are definitely moving in the direction of that.
But I feel like some technology has advanced so far in our lifetime, and then like the things that we saw on like cartoons or in like futuristic movies are not like, we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. Like, I
mean, it's a lot closer than what people
I agree
are like feel. I guess like the everyday person.
I think it's just not in the way that it was pictured.
Yeah, I mean, it's not pushed like it's not everyday use things yet, and it's not you still got to have some type of money to get those.
I mean,
type
that's
of things.
like,
but
having money grants you access
to new things. I mean, speaking of the new year, well, before we get into the new year, we just had Christmas, spent a lot of time with family, and especially now that we are now for sure the older cousins, and now the younger cousins are now 18, 19, 20, like getting into that age, 16, 17, like they're getting into that age where we were when they were first born. Right. How does that make you feel? Because I've had some like whoa moments.
I mean, it definitely feels, and I've said this before, I've had this conversation before. I think the fact that our parents had me so for those of you that don't know, I'm the oldest on both sides of everyone, all the grandkids, of the cousins. I made my parents' I made all our grandparents, so on and so forth. Aunts, uncles. My parents were quite young when they had me, teens, and so a lot of times I personally feel closer to like our aunts and uncles generation, even though technically, I mean, me and Titi Adriana and Titi Teresa are all, I think, millennials. They're elder millennials, but
because you're only what, 2 years younger than, or 4 years younger?
4 years younger than Titi Adriana, and like 6 or 7 than Titi Teresa. But I've always felt more like a sibling, like weirdly enough to say, like more in line with like our aunts and uncles than with our cousins because of that huge age difference. And more so than like the teens, it's Stella, it's Zeke, like posting that picture of me holding him, and he is 1 and I'm 34, about to be 35, is like, you could for sure be my child. You know? And that is a wild thing to think about, because I still, you know, get around our aunts and uncles and grandparents and feel like a baby.
Yeah.
And then and then the real babies come along and I'm like, oh, I'm like an adult, and you guys are like still figuring out how to exist in the world.
Exist, not even. They're trying to figure out what existence is.
Right. Like it's a little wild to think about. And, you know, just conversations that we had with our cousins, even in this past couple days, it's just like, I remember having these conversations at that age.
We're the one bestowing the wisdom.
Yeah, like, but like amongst each other, right? Like, I feel like because I was so close in age with the aunts and uncles, I feel like I was figuring out all that stuff along with them, and now I'm like bestowing wisdom.
Which I feel like, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong on your end, but it also feels like when we were having the wisdom put onto us, they were looking at us like, you're still young, you don't really know much, this, that, whatever. And for me at least, when I was, you know, talking to Noah, Alberto, Anabelis, all them, like, it felt like, yeah, I know y'all are grown up. Like, I'm not talking to you like you're a kid. I'm talking to you like you're a person trying to figure yourself out and, you know, trying to figure out the world, which I felt like that was for me at least, that was the difference in felt like I was talked to and me talking to them, like with them. Being
talked at or seen as like an actual person with intelligence that can understand.
I'm talking with them, not at them.
Right, exactly. I fall somewhere in between, because I do, again, just being the oldest, I have always had that sense of responsibility, whether or not it was innate or put on me. I think it was a little bit of both, to be honest. And so I do have a harder time not seeing them as kids. And I know that with Alberto and stuff is easier. With Noah, I think because I'm so close to his mom, to our aunt, it feels strange to have like those types of conversations with him. And I think that like with you or like with other people, when we're having, like with Jeremy there having that conversation, it didn't really, I was like, okay, like a parent is here. So I think it's okay that we can, even though Jeremy's my same age, like that's Noah, he's raising Noah. So like, if he's okay with it, then I can trust that like Titi Adriana will be okay with it. And I didn't feel too awkward about it. But I mean, even with you, think about when we were growing up, like there was a time that I didn't like you to curse in front of me, and we're only 4 years apart. So I think I've grown in that sense,
at a
for
certain
sure.
point, I'm just like, you're gonna have to deal with it. Rachel, like.
I mean, I think I've grown in that sense for sure, but I still do feel a little bit of that, like, ooh, like, should I be talking like this in front of you? Should I be, you know?
I mean, we're having some pretty interesting conversations towards the end of the
night. For sure. Like I said, I think it helps me to be in more of a group scenario, because I can kind of follow the vibe as opposed to feeling like I have
You're leading the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but that's like when I'm talking to them, like that's how I let them lead the conversation, and I'll chime in when I feel like, all right, like yes, or like I hear you, but like when there's little nuggets to give, because at that point, like I guess it's not viewed that way, but I feel like I'm the older, not cool one. Like they're hip, they're in the mix of like what's trendy, what the lingo is, all that shit, and I'm starting to get to that age where I'm like, what? That's a new word? Like that means this now? Like
you're
what?
Old.
Yeah. So it's like I'll let them lead the conversation, and I'll just chime in and give little nuggets or little things here and there when I feel like it's, you know, either people are listening or something that's just, you know, just something that's going to add to whatever they're saying already.
I feel like I've never felt cool. So I think you are starting to feel that way, but like you very much are still like the cool older cousin.
Well, and I've definitely.
'Cause you're like, first of all, your taste in music expands all different decades, all different genres, and that's like a big thing in our family, at least. Everyone has some type of interest in music, you know, varying degrees, but you do, I feel like, stay updated on what's current. And like you know, you're cool. You go to the gym and you're like in shape and you dress cool and, you know, whatever. And so I think you have always on both sides kind of been like the cool cousin. And again, because I'm older and I was always in charge and babysitting and stuff like that, I always I always feel like I'm like they just see me as like an authority figure, and that's not cool.
Which is, I mean, but I know, like this whole, these past few months more than anything, but the holiday season has kind of like shown me at least that it's like, all right, like, they do look up to us, like, even though however we might feel about it, like they look at us like, yeah, you're cool, you're one of us, like, but we still respect you as like adults. But I was
gonna say with Alberto is the one that I really noticed, like, oh, like you do still think I'm cool and like want to hang out with me and like want to talk to me and know about my life. And that's the gauge for me. Like Alberto, the fact that he got so excited when he saw me, he gave me the longest hug and was like, I miss you, and like wanted to hang out, was like, you look slay, and like, all the things that the kids say now. all the young slang that I don't know. But I know it was good. So even his boyfriend was like, oh my God, you're so pretty, and like, well, I was like, oh, thank you. I think I'm so far removed now because I've been out of Florida for it'll be 10 years next year in August. So I don't, when I left, they were all little. They were all babies. Not babies really, but they were little. I mean, Zeke wasn't a thing. Yeah. And Stella was a baby. Yeah. I left when Stella was 2 months old. So the fact that like she still gets excited, that she still is like, when are we gonna see you again? And that stuff is what keeps me like, oh, okay, like I'm not just fading out. I'm not just that family member that's like you see every couple years and start saying, I remember you when,
Well, there's been a couple times where I say that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm turning into that now. Jesus Christ, I remember when you were this small.
No,
but the only difference is that when people were saying that to me, I'm like, I have no idea who the hell you are or when I'm ever going to see you again. Like, get out of my face.
Yeah.
As opposed to now, like, there is more of the effort, and they do we do see them more often, and it's a little bit more close knit in that sense.
Yeah, and I think again with like, especially with Adriana's kids, like I'm so close to her, and I talk almost every morning on our way to work. So, and that's when she's taking the kids to school and stuff. So at least like that presence is still there. I do think that like, again, going back to technology, the fact that we have FaceTime, that we text, whatever. When we were young and people were coming and saying, I met you when you were this big. It's like we literally hadn't seen them since we were babies. And, there was not that in your face all the time.
Instant communication, which is funny that I think it was the last time I was up here, or the time before, me and Dad started talking about Jim and Lisa.
Oh, your godparents.
Yeah, and I guess Dad sees them on Facebook every once in a while. So I decided to friend request him. I haven't heard back yet, but it doesn't seem like he's very active on his Facebook. But I mean, situations like that. The last time I saw him, I was probably, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years old, and he gave me $100.
Oh, that's when they came to our house, right?
And I have never heard or seen from them since.
Please, I haven't seen my godparents. I don't even. I was a small child. A small child. I don't
still remember. Small. Just
I'm still small. Just not. I'm just old now. But I was young. Like I don't remember the last time I saw them. So
yeah, shit is wild. Growing up is weird.
It is weird. It is weird because you don't feel it. I feel it sneaks up on you.
Well, I mean, I forget who I was talking to about it the other day, but like they were saying the same thing, that like, you just, they were talking to somebody that was older, and they were saying like, yeah, you just brush your teeth and you look up one day and you're just fucking 20 years have gone by, 30 years have gone by, and it's like, well, it hasn't been going by that fast for me. Hopefully it doesn't feel like it like goes that fast for me, but I've heard of like enough people say that is like, and you start, days start kind of mushing together, months, years kind of start mushing together. And it's like, yeah, if you don't really take the time to pay attention and really take the time to appreciate what's going on around you and like just take it all in, then that's when time does really just start. You get into the just monotonous routine of work, this, go home, work, this, whatever. And then you know, like that person was saying, you look up and 30 years have gone by and you don't know what the fuck you've been doing.
I feel like I started noticing it more with our grandparents. Like, they were middle-aged when they became, I mean, my abuela was 35 when she became a grandma.
Not even middle-aged yet.
But it wasn't until I feel like they started hitting their like 60s and 70s, and really more like late 60s, early 70s, that they really started feeling like grandparent age. Like our grandparents were not grandparent age for a long time.
No.
And then I was like, oh.
Shout out Dad.
And Mom.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, they are old now. Like they're doing old people things.
Retiring and shit.
Yeah. Well, retiring, but even just like being around them sometimes, like they don't move in the same way they used to move. They don't, there's just like certain things. I mean, with Tito, I feel like, you know, there's been a mellowing. With Abuela, I feel like she's opened up a little more. You know, things like that where it's like, oh, like you are getting older, which means I'm getting older, and it's a little wild. And I also like, I look at myself and I'm like, I feel like I look the same, but
same.
I don't.
Well, I think, I mean, for me, like I have a beard now. I feel like that's the like.
Well,
that's
and you couldn't grow a beard before,
right? So like now that, and that's like what I tell my friends now. It's like it's all the same shit. We do the same shit. We hang out.
Yeah,
talk.
right.
We just have beards now. That's it. Like
we just have beards now.
like we still bullshit the same and still talk shit the same, but just got a little facial hair now.
Yeah, I don't have that, thankfully.
But like I was telling you the other day too, like I was looking at myself in the mirror and I'm just like, oh shit, like I'm a grown up.
Yeah,
I'm 30 years old.
You look like a man
shit.
now.
I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is going on here? Because in my head, like even just naturally, I feel like I have a very youthful soul and I'm very just like, you know, happy going, you know, just trying to keep the mood light and shit. Like I don't feel old. Like in the sense of like my personality and the way that I approach life and look at life. But, you know, everybody ages. So like.
I feel that I have always felt old.
Opposite.
I was always the mom friend. I was always, you know, I didn't really party that much. When I did, I was the one looking out for everyone else. I think it wasn't really, interestingly enough, until I met Hunter, who I trusted to like make sure that things didn't get crazy, that I felt comfortable actually letting loose and having a little bit more leeway in that. But I've always, I don't know, I feel like my personality is the mom friend.
But do you think that kind of plays into like being the oldest sibling and feeling like you had to, you know, watch over? You feel like that? So maybe if you were like the middle child or the youngest one, you think that might have changed a little bit? Or
100%. I mean, we were talking about it, I feel like sometime this week, where there was so much responsibility and so much expectation put on me that I didn't ask for. That I do think played a huge part in my personality. And whereas you had a little bit more, well, a lot more leeway, and you were able to kind of flourish under that and kind of, and play around more. Like I didn't get that luxury. I didn't even going away to college. Like I didn't go away. I stayed home. So like my freshman and sophomore year of college, I was coming home in the middle of the day to pick up Julia from elementary school. So much so that like her teachers knew my car. I didn't even have to have, you know, at that time, I don't know about now, but at that time you had to have like the little sign with the kid's name and grade. I didn't have to do that because they knew my car. Like I was doing grown-up adult things for a very long time, and I didn't feel like I got to play around that much until I again, like,
so you grew up and got married.
Exactly, until I grew up and you know, was with someone who also is incredibly responsible, and I was like, oh, I'm safe. Like I can play now. And even still, like I'm not a huge partier. I think that's just not me. But I am more willing and apt to like let a little loose now, because I feel like, okay, I know someone else is looking out for me, and I don't have to be like nervous that something's gonna happen. So yeah, but I do definitely think that being the oldest played into that a lot. Maybe it would have been part of my personality anyway, but I think it was enhanced. Like I think it just like doubled down.
I mean, that makes sense. Especially Especially like you said, like there's a lot of things that were just kind of put on you that you just kind of had to like
the expectations were just very different for me and for you.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is I was the oldest, and part of that is gender. And, there was just there was a lot of traditional gender roles in our house that I didn't really notice at the time. But
well, I mean, I've touched on this on here a few times. Like, we grew up in like a very like gray area time where there was like a transition of, internet, social media. Like, we grew up where we still understood like going outside playing, like having to be home by a certain time. Like when you're out in the world, like you're disconnected, like you're literally in that moment, and there's no calling somebody, texting somebody, hitting the instant communication.
Oh yeah.
And into that transition of, all right, now I got in my phone, there's still text, but I got to pay for, text, and I got to pay for minutes and shit like that.
Oh my God, minutes. I remember that shit.
Into getting into iPhone, into, smartphones and things like that. So like, it kind of feels like we're guinea pigs in a sense.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And that definitely, I feel like that plays a lot into just outlook on things and just like how you said, just how I guess we were molded in a way. So
yeah, I definitely feel that way. And I think also we grew up in a time where we were raised with a certain, like, if you do X, you'll get to Y. And then by the time we got to the point of doing that, that formula didn't exist anymore.
Yeah, things seemed to be a lot more linear.
Right, exactly.
And when in reality, it's never really been like that.
It's not. But there was a bit more of a linear progression.
For sure. But even if you look at like, and it's not really the best example, but if you look at how like people were depicted in movies sometimes, like, you have the guy that's kissing the boss's ass, doing everything, looking for the promotion, then they don't get the promotion, and then it's like, oh fuck, and then you get whatever conflict in the movie. But like, there's only so many positions that you can get promoted to, so there is still, if you work hard, you could get to a certain place, but it's not necessarily going to be what you want, where you're going to get, or what exactly you want to get. Like,
yeah, but I feel like back, I can't even say 30 years because that's the 90s now. Back 50 years, people were staying at the same company for their entire careers, and they were moving. Like, there was a progression of, if you're here for a certain amount of time, like, it's your turn for the promotion. Yeah. That does not exist anymore.
Well,
very rarely.
The middleman has been cut out a lot.
Yeah. But like now, I feel like for millennials, at the very least, it's that you're at a job for 2-3 years, and then if you want to move anywhere, you have to go somewhere else. Yeah. And older employers look down on having like 2-3 years here, 2-3 years there, but they don't understand that like that's what you have to do at this point, because wages are not going up at the same rate that inflation is happening. Yeah. So it's like, if you want to be able to, like, I'm making the most money that I've ever made right now, and my husband is a lawyer, also making decent money, and we don't have any kids or any pets. We can't afford to buy a house. Like, it's a little wild. And that was unheard of before. Like, before it was, first of all, only the man was making money. And if you had a good job, you were able to buy a modest home. That's not a thing. Like, Hunter and I are like, are we ever going to be able to buy a home? Like, is that going to be a thing in our futures? Yeah. It also depends on, we live in New Jersey, so it's a little bit more expensive. There are, other things at play, but I just feel like we were raised with the mentality of, go to school, get a good job, get married. Exactly. A plus B equals C. And that's not a formula that I think it even exists anymore, really. Or if it does, it's like very rare cases. Yeah, no, you really have to hustle. Like, now it's like hustle culture,
which is, there's good and bad to it.
Absolutely.
Like I said, the middleman is cut out, which I feel like in certain instances is a good thing. Like, for example, this podcast, back 10, 15 years ago, you would have to go to school, get into a radio station, get into somewhere that already has this equipment and all this shit. Like,
you'd have to have like a company behind you.
There was no buying the equipment yourself and, starting something up yourself. And if there was, it's that you had financial backing already to do it. Now, you know, you could buy this little Rodecaster for, you know, $250, $300. You can get yourself a nice camera. I think this was like $80, $100. Get yourself a few microphones, and it might cost you, I don't know, $800 to $1,000 maybe in a total equipment to start up a podcast. And relatively speaking, that's not that expensive.
Yeah.
But I mean, and you take that with other things. I know a few people that did like the Amazon wholesale stuff. Mm-hmm. I know people that were doing, you know, all types of different businesses that before, like, you had to have, like, there was more corporate backing behind these things that, or you had to go to school to then get yourself into a company, to then get your 10,000 hours of experience, to then put yourself in that position to, all right, now I'm where I want to be.
I have the experience. People will trust me.
Exactly.
You know, I can get, yeah.
Right now, I mean, this is me getting my 10,000 hours of whatever, you know, of podcasting, of, you know, I want to start playing the piano more this coming up year. I want to start tapping into those things a little bit more. But, you know, there was, again, the more traditional of, like we were saying, A plus B equals C. Now it's get it how you fucking can. And if you're good, somebody will come find you.
Right. Which I think is great. I do also think that it's still, you know, a numbers game. You have to really believe in yourself. You have to really, you know what I mean? And not everybody has that. And if you don't have that, then it's a hustle culture. You got to have 2-3 jobs. I mean, again, as I said, I'm in a job that is a pretty secure, is pretty well paying. And I teach Zumba on the side. And that's what goes into my savings. Because if I don't do that, then like there's not much that I can save.
Yep.
And like, you know, I did do the more traditional route. I went to college and then I went to college some more.
Shit.
And you know, it's rough. Like, it's not always, again, we live a comfortable, decent, you know, life at this point, but there's definitely things that we want to do that it seems further and further off, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. You know, our friends look at us and they're like, oh, you're in a great position. You're dinks, you know, dual income, no kids. And I'm like, yeah, that means nothing.
Dinks?
Yeah, that's what that's called, dinks. Dual income, no kids.
I've never heard that before.
And we're like, sure, dual income, no kids, which means that we're not like in a ton of debt. And that's basically it. Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's, like you said, there's good and there's bad. So
yeah, just like anything else, but it's just a matter of, I mean, you just kind of have to
figure it out. I mean,
honestly, at any point in time, it was, you know, you had to figure it out one way or another. You're born into a world that you had no say of, you know, how the rules are, what is acceptable, what's not, things like that. And regardless of who you are, where you're from, like you're going to have to find a way to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is universal across any timeline, across any parallel universe, anything like that. Now, like you said, you know, it is becoming more of a hustle culture. And if you don't have the motivation, which that's something that I've had to work on. I've never, and even now, like, I'm not the most internally motivated person.
Yeah, we talked
obviously
about it.
Like, you know, I get myself up, go to work, you know, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just I'm drawing a blank right now. Just basic things, you know, the things that you need to do. The
necessities.
Exactly. Yeah. But, you know, to do the extra and, you know, to do this and to do that, like, just the way that I view life, a lot of this shit, I'm very much in the middle of, like, everything matters and nothing matters at all.
Yeah, I think, wow, I'm not quite there, but I do think that, similar to what you're saying, I'm very good. I used to say to Hunter all the time, my bills are always paid. My bills are always paid. I don't think I've ever once paid a bill late. Now, no, I don't ever have extra. I barely ever have extra. Like, saving, I've been able to save in certain moments when I know there's a very specific, like, for example, when I decided I wanted to go to grad school, I was like, okay, I have a year to save. So, like, that's what I'm doing. And I was able to, like, really be disciplined and save some money and whatever.
But there's sacrifice that comes with that. But
there's sacrifice that comes with that. Like, my friends used to be like, because I always just be like, I can't go out, I'm broke. Like, and they're like, how are you broke? Da-da-da. Like, they used to always be criticizing, and I'm like, I'm trying to do something.
Right.
Like,
and that's what people don't understand. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
that's what people don't understand is that, like, Yeah, I have money, but again, then you might have to sacrifice the social life. Or if you have such a social life, then you might not be paying. You might miss your car payment by a day,
Right.
or you might be taking that extra day of grace period for rent to fucking, instead of paying it on the first, you got that day grace period to pay it on the second, or you might be, I have a social life, but hey, like so and so family member, so and so friend, can you pass me over $100 so I can get this paid on time and shit?
Right.
So there's sacrifice on both ends.
Absolutely. And
Which-
it's hard.
Right, which, if depending on how you view life and your outlook on it is, you might be more willing to sacrifice the social life and stay in, but everything's taken care of, everything's paid for. Or, on the opposite end, you want to have the experience, you want to live your life, you want to, say you've done this and that, but your credit might suck a little bit and things like that.
Right.
So
And it's hard because, I think I used to not understand the value of the social aspect. Like before I moved away, I definitely took for granted the fact that I had almost everyone that I cared about within a 10-mile radius. So I didn't have to work at the social part.
Yeah.
Because if one person wasn't available, okay, I'll go across the street to Titi's house. Oh, they're doing stuff. Okay, I'll drive 5 minutes to Abuela and Abuelo's house.
Yeah.
Whatever. I had everyone around me. My best friends at the time lived in our neighborhood. Like, I didn't have to work at that. And so it was easy to sacrifice on the other end and say, well, I can't go out, but you can come to my house, or I can't, whatever, I'll hang out with this person. I know I'm not going to spend money if I go over to this person's house. And then I moved. And then I moved to a place where I didn't know anyone. And then I also started school after being out of school for 3 years. And I knew my goal and, whatever, but I was working at one point. I was working 2 jobs, doing an internship, and going to school full time. I had no time for socializing, but I was depressed as hell. Like that first year that I was in New Jersey, the first year and a half.
I remember.
I was depressed as hell.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do with myself. I ended up going to therapy for the first time, which was a blessing, but it was hard. Like I at one point was like, well, I'm going to go to therapy. And I felt like I was going through the motions of my life. Like I kept doing stuff and showing up because I knew I had the hope at least that I would get out of it eventually. And I didn't want my life to be in shambles when I came out of whatever funk I was in. But it was a solid year and a half that I was like, why am I even doing this? And then I finished grad school and finding a job was hard. And you've listened to me through all of it. Even after I got in my field, then it was, well, I don't have enough experience for the jobs that actually pay decent. So then, I work in nonprofit. So it's, okay, I went to grad school, but everyone wants 5 years of experience. But then nobody wants to hire you because you don't have the experience. So you have to start in the little part-time jobs that don't give you enough to live. I was, thankfully, I could live with Theo. And for the first 3 years, he didn't make me pay rent. So that was really nice. Even with that, I had no money. And again, I was working 2 jobs at least the majority of that time. So it's just, it's a hard thing. And I didn't realize how much I needed the social part for my own mental health until I didn't have it anymore.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like,
this isn't right.
This sucks.
Yeah.
I was lucky that I knew there was an end point to it. I was like, school's going to be done eventually and whatever.
Saw the light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly. And during that time, I met the person who is now my husband, and that was great. And it continues to be great. But it was a struggle. And I still have my periods of struggle. Like, Hunter says it all the time when he's like, when you're with your family, you're different. Like you come alive, which is why he lobbies so hard to have people move because he said it during this trip. Yeah. He's like, I know the more of Rachel's family moves closer, the happier she'll be. Because I really do, this is the stuff that I value. Going back to, spending this time with our family, seeing our cousins grow and learn and being able to be there and advise and just, be part of those moments. You know, that's the stuff that's important to me. And like, I feel very lucky that I'm close to his family and we get along, but I still ache for like
I mean, it's not
my
the same.
own stuff,
Yeah.
you know,
Those
my
are
own
the people
family.
you grew up with. They know you from when you were this big.
Exactly. Like, I'm so much quieter. I mean, I've noticed even on this trip, like, I've been just singing all the time, and I've been like, you know, doing the first, I feel like couple days I was a little like, oh my God, okay, we have to, like, we're in a new environment. But now I'm just like, oh wait, like, no, this is my home.
New environment,
you know?
same people.
Exactly. This is my home. These are my people. I can be myself. They know me.
Yeah. Family is a great thing, truly.
I mean, I think in our case, you know, not everyone, I will say not everyone has the luxury of having the types of relationships.
And I think, who was I talking to about this the other day? I don't remember exactly, but yes, family, like blood related family, but also very much so like
chosen family, of course.
Exactly. And that's like just that sense of like belonging, you know, community, feeling like you have people that have you, or you're with people that have your back, that truly have your best interests and things like that I feel like is very much I feel like it's very undervalued nowadays. And I feel like it kind of
the opposite. I feel like a chosen family is such a big, especially
just the, I guess, the concept or the idea of it. I feel like so many people, and maybe, you know, again, different experiences, different perspectives, but I feel like people just are very much like too much into themselves nowadays, and too much into me, you know, my brand, my this,
I mean,
my
we
that,
live in a
and
very
things.
individualistic society, but I do think that chosen family, especially recently, has become a big thing, because also, like, that's the LGBTQ community, like, that's a huge thing, because so many people have had the experience of their blood family not accepting them for who they are. So I think as the LGBTQ community has really been able to like come out more and be more present in, or more normalized, I guess, in the present society, people have realized the importance of chosen family, especially in the absence of blood family, for sure.
Which luckily we have. I mean, I know I do. I have very, very great ties with and bonds with obviously our blood family, but people that I've grown up with,
I mean,
friends, you know, things like that. So,
you know, I mean, I told you, the time that I've been in Orlando, I've been staying with Patty and Justin, and Justin on more than one occasion has been like, your family, like, what the heck, you know? Like, I feel very lucky that I wouldn't say like I have a ton of friends, but the friends that I have are our family. Same. Like, they, you know, the twins who we don't talk all the time, especially not how we used to, but they were at my wedding last year, and, you know, we still keep up with each other, and we still, like, I know if they need anything or if I need anything, like, we're there for each other. Patty's another one that, like, her son, I love him like he's my nephew, and Justin texted me yesterday and was like, Adam keeps asking when you're coming back. And he's 4. Another one that I'm like, this kid isn't going to care about me. He doesn't know me. But every time I come around, he's Titi Rachel. And I'm like, stop. So it's like, you know, I feel lucky that I do work hard at my relationships with my blood family. And you know, even though there's always things to work on, like I can't imagine not having those relationships. I also feel very lucky that like the friendships that I've made in my life tend to be lasting, to be friendships that are like, you know, ride or die forever. I got you. And very lucky that, again, I married into a family that very quickly embraced me and like adopted me into like, that's why Julia's speech made me tear up, because she said it, like, we were all nervous that you were moving somewhere that you didn't have anyone, and you're always taking care of us, and I'm happy that you have someone to take care of you now. Like, that broke me, because it's true. Like, you know, I feel like I was always taking care of everyone. I had a lot of anxiety about moving and leaving, especially Julia by herself with our parents. But, you know, I realized that, one, that wasn't my responsibility. Like, that wasn't my role. That wasn't supposed to be my role.
Yeah.
And two, like, yeah, I did marry into a family that really has, like, embraced me as one of their own and took me in pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, I've talked so much.
Hey, good. Keep on talking. I mean, with all that, I mean, like we were saying in the beginning, 2025 is upon us, essentially.
Are you gonna make me say what's it called? What is the thing? Resolution?
Oh, I was gonna say a goal for the new year, and I'm not really one that's really big into New Year's resolutions because I feel like it's just kind of like oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then a month in, fucking 50% of the people are like, all right, well, I'll just wait until next year.
Everyone's resolution is I'm gonna lose 10 pounds by.
Yeah, which all those fucking lame ass gym goers. If you're not gonna go, just don't even show up. Just fucking stay home. Don't crowd out the gym for the beginning of the year because then it fucks with my routine.
Oh, I have the opposite message. If you feel like you want to go to the gym, go to the gym. Just stick with it. Like, it gets easier. There you go. It gets easier. One of my goals this past year, which was not a goal from the beginning of the year, but I decided on a whim that I wanted to run a 5K.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, your girl was never a runner. If you could not tell, am the nerd of the two of us. Physical exercise was not my jam. And I didn't think I could do it. Like, I started being like, well, we're going to see if I can do this. And then I did. Like, that to me, I mean, I walked a little bit, I'm not going to lie, but I mostly ran the majority of it, which is more than I could have said at any other point because I had walked 5Ks before. Yeah. It gets easier is my point. And I actually realized that as much as like, I don't think I'm ever going to be excited to exercise because it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
I found something that quiets the noise in my head, at least for the time that I'm doing that activity. And that's more than I can say for most activities.
Yeah. I will say this though. You do sell yourself short a lot.
Okay. How so?
Because of course, I mean, when you told me you were going to do the 5K, there's no doubt in my mind that you would be able to do it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, it's going to get hard. It's not something like you're saying, physical activity is not necessarily your strong suit or whatever, or, insert whatever you want to insert in there. But
it's just my favorite.
I feel, but you definitely have the mental fortitude and you definitely have the physical capabilities to finish a 5K and to do a 5K and to do physical things. You do rock climbing. You said, you teach Zumba. It's not like you're just completely like inept
I'm not
physically.
Stagnant, yeah.
So that's where, you do sell yourself short a little bit when it comes to those type of things because automatically I feel it seems like your brain just goes to, this is going to be hard as fuck. And it, when you go into something like that already, it does kind of reinforce that voice in your head of, all right, well, we already know it's going to be hard.
We go back to motivation. So I tend to be really good when I know that someone, like when I have I don't want to disappoint someone else.
Yeah.
When it's something that I'm doing by myself, for myself, I have the pattern of I'm going to start really strong and then it gets hard and I'm like, fuck this, I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. And so that was more what I was scared of. It wasn't that I can't do it. Mm-hmm. It's that when I'm doing something for myself, as soon as it gets hard, I tend to be like, well, it's for me. It's not hurting anyone but me. So whatever, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. Whereas like Zumba, I teach it. So like I have to go, I can't. First of all, I'm getting paid to be there. And second of all, like I do love my students. They're so sweet. Like, and everywhere. I've only taught at 2 different gyms, but like it's the community of people that come to my class. And they're like, even last year, they all were so excited for the wedding and like they wanted to see pictures. And I had a couple of students that brought me gifts. Like it was super sweet. But I know that like I have to be there for them and I have to be there for literally the fact that I work there. Things that involve like if I'm doing things with Hunter or for you guys or whatever, bet I will be there no matter what. I have a hard time when I'm doing stuff for myself, which again, we're working on. That's what therapy's for. But, but yeah, I mean, I definitely surprised myself only because I had tried running in the past and I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, no, running.
I didn't like it.
I hate running long distance. Like if it's not for like sport or like something that I like, running long distance sucks so much.
Yeah, and like the only reason that I went with running is because I was like, well, what can I do that it's not going to cost me a lot of money, that I don't need to get like a membership somewhere, whatever. Yeah. I downloaded the freaking 5K Runner app, got some running shoes that were decent, and found a park by my house, and I was able to do it that way. And then I found that I actually started enjoying it and being like, oh, like I'm not, first of all, this is a solitary thing. So I'm not comparing myself to anyone else. I'm not competing with anyone else. And it was so hard that I was like, I can't even focus on anything else. I can only focus on what I'm doing in that moment, which is one foot in front of the other and try to freaking breathe. Yeah, So anyway, going back to the beginning of this subject, it gets easier. Keep going to the gym. Keep going to the gym goers. Don't let him dissuade you. Just don't quit after January or February. Keep going. Find the thing that you like, whether it's group classes. This is the Zumba teacher in me now. Find stuff that you like and keep going. It's important.
Yeah, just don't essentially don't waste your time or your money.
Yeah, if you are gonna quit, be sure to cancel that gym membership because that's money.
For real, because
that's how they get you.
I was about to say that's how gyms make most of their money, is just people that sign up and then never fucking go, and they're pulling out. Like I know at Planet Fitness, the cheapest one is $10, but you get 200 people and that's just a random number that have signed up, don't use the gym at all, and then there's also annual fees on top of that. Like that's free money right there. So. Yeah, if you're going to do something, just do it. If not, please go to another gym. Do it somewhere else.
Wow. But yeah, goals for 2025,
Or even if it's like something that you've been doing that you want to continue. Because like I said, I feel like New Year's resolutions are kind of like lame, and like it's just people saying shit to sound like they're going to do something, and then half the time don't do it. But I mean, things that you're doing that you want to continue to do, or if there is something that you want to do heading into the new year,
Well, I'm running another 5K in February because the last time I didn't run the entire thing, and that really is, I do want to be able to run the entire thing. So that is, I think I want to continue that. Like I want to continue just like training and doing 5Ks and see where that takes me. And I just want to continue like my therapy journey. I think that has been a really big part of my last year and a half at this point. I have a lot of things that I want to work on myself, for myself, but also for the people around me. I'm a married lady now. And it's important to me to continue to grow and learn and become a better person and be able to be a good wife and teammate and I think that's just, I think those are just goals for life for me. Be present. I think working on being present, because that's hard for me. I have a lot of anxiety. I'm always thinking about what's next, what's the next step, what's the next, whatever. And I think I sometimes lose out on what I'm experiencing right now, which I will say during this trip, I think I've been pretty good about being present. And I definitely have had moments, that I'm just like looking out and I'm like, I'm tearing up because I'm like, oh my God, this is my life. Like, look, earlier in the week when Hunter was cooking and stuff for getting ready for Christmas Eve and Dad was in there helping and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, my husband's in my dad's house cooking and like I have a husband. That stuff like that, like I felt really grateful for. When Dad and Abuela were dancing on Christmas Eve, I almost started crying because I was like, I look at their faces, like, and I get to be here for that. Like that stuff definitely has made me feel emotional and sentimental in a good way, like sentimental and just grateful for for our family and for our lives and our relationships and stuff like that. So I think just continuing trying to practice gratitude and be
manifesting
present.
abundance.
Yes,
there's
please.
There's a progressive commercial.
Oh.
that says I'm practicing gratitude, manifesting abundance.
I don't watch commercials.
I do still.
No.
I'm on that ad.
What was I watching the other day? I think I was on Hulu, and I guess I'm on Dad's Hulu, and I guess he has ads now.
Yeah.
And Hunter came out from the computer room. He's like, "Why are you watching ads?" I'm like, "I don't know. My Dad's Hulu has ads now." He's like, "Tell me what show you're watching. I'm gonna download it." My wife. He's like, "I don't watch ads. My wife doesn't watch ads." I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah, it does take away from the show a little
Benefits
bit.
of being married to someone who's very good at tech and
techie stuff,
all that stuff. But yeah, I think definitely just being present, practicing gratitude, and continuing and continuing my, I think, running journey, because there were definitely weeks that I would go into therapy and be like, running's doing something for me. I don't know what it is, but it's doing something. I'm feeling good.
Hey,
so
listen, physical activity, I will always vouch for people getting up and doing more and being more active.
Yeah.
And
what about you? What are your goals?
My goals for this year, I really want to get
where the people are.
I want to be more conscious of my diet and really hone in on that.
That should be a goal for me too.
Yeah, and really hone in on that, because I obviously, like, I've been going to the gym, I've been working out, I have that covered, I have the foundation for it. It really is the diet that I've been very and it's not like I have like big swings or anything, but like I enjoy food. I like to eat. So like, I won't necessarily, like, during the week I'm pretty strict, but like on the weekend, or there'll be like during the holiday time that I'm like, fuck it, like I know I'll be able to work it off and shit, whatever, blah, 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 whatever excuse, but it's not necessarily getting me to where I want to look physically. I know that I can, if I am a little bit more disciplined in my diet, the rest will come. Like, that last little bit of fat that I have will start falling off.
That's wild to me. I look at you and I'm like, I wish I looked like that.
I'm not as I would like to see.
I mean, not exactly like that, but you know what I mean.
If you were 6 foot,
if I looked like that, I'd be a little exactly. That'd be something. But you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like the female version of that.
Well, I just, like I said, I've been pretty active my whole life. I've been pretty, in some type of sport or doing something.
Yeah.
So that, again, like the working out part, and I've had that down for a while and things like that. Like I said, the harder part for me is, maybe not eating that little brownie before I go to bed or something like that.
Yeah.
And luckily, since, I've been active, I know that in my head that I can do this. I might be bloated for a day or two, whatever, but I'll bounce back real quick.
Yeah.
But also just kind of looking long term, at some point, it's not always going to be like that. At some point, my metabolism is going to slow down. At some point, like, Father Time is undefeated.
Who you telling?
So like, I want to, and I have been doing it little by little, but I want to really make it a point this year to, like, really, get a diet and stick to it, and not necessarily like a keto diet or this, that, just kind of being more mindful of what I'm putting into my body. Even more so, just, meal prepping for myself, and not do it for like, because when I'll do these things, I'll do it for like a month or so, and then I'll start falling off. So I want to just make it more of a lifestyle change, I guess, more than just doing it because I want to look like this. And once I look like a certain way, then, back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
So that's one. I mean, I want to continue, being there, building relationships, honing those in, putting time into that, into, friends, family, all that good stuff. And financially, I just want to be a little bit more financially responsible. Mm-hmm. Not that I've, ever really put myself in a like terrible position, but, there is certain things that I want to accomplish and certain age that I want to retire at that, or like be fairly close to when I get to that age that I'm, at least it's in the conversation of So, and
A
that
possibility.
yeah, and that requires more financial discipline than I have right now. So
yeah, I get that.
and I have other business ventures and other things coming up that I want to, that will help lead to that. But, I guess just even if, whatever happens, just if things don't work out and I'm staying at the job that I'm at right now, like just be more financially aware, be more financially savvy, be a little bit smarter with my money and where I'm putting it and things like that. So I guess just be an adult. It's what
At 30 years old, ladies and gentlemen, almost 31. He'll be 31 next year. He wants to be an adult. I went the other way. I was an adult and then said, I don't want to be an adult anymore. In the words of Jasmine, I don't want to be a princess anymore.
Yeah, I mean, So yeah, that's I feel like it's pretty basic stuff, but it'll take me a long way. I feel like.
But it's interesting, like the little tweaks you can make to make it to those goals.
Right. So, I've been doing, I've been using financial apps and things like that. And I have friends that, are very much financially savvy. So I've been trying to be in communication with them more and just kind of pick their brain and things like that. And at this point, through life, through the podcast, through work, through whatever, like I've met enough people and I've made enough connections that I can start taking those steps and really like put them to work and put it to use and like really see some like legit changes. So, I've my 20s, I had fun, but I also, laid the groundwork for what I want, my 30s to look like, what I want my 40s to look like and shit like that. So I think, that's just, I think that's the biggest thing for me is just putting all these things that I've learned, people that I've met over the years, and just, putting it to work for me now.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
That is the goal for 2025 and beyond. To infinity and beyond.
Shut up. We're related, ladies and gentlemen. We've been doing that a lot this week.
We've been in sync.
Oh man, on that same wavelength.
But yeah.
What else? We got a couple days. I got 2 days left.
In good old Florida. Florida. I know we're in I guess you guys see the change of scenery. Undisclosed location. But the vibes are always right.
The vibes are vibing. Plus,
I mean, I will be moving to another location. So, from the past, about year now I'll have a more, settled in place that I'll be able to bring more guests over, be more consistent. At this point I won't have an excuse because it's all on me. I know you guys haven't been seeing Jacob as much. He's still involved, just he's doing his own thing, living his own life, doing what he's got to do. But
good old Jacob.
Yeah, so I mean he will still be involved, but at this point where this podcast goes essentially falls on me. So I've been.
How does the responsibility make you feel, Eric?
The same as always. I mean, I feel like the responsibility has been on me, but now like I don't have the built-in excuse of like, well, I asked you to do this, so that's why I didn't do it. Now it's all on me.
Yeah,
so
right.
Like
it might make it easier though.
Exactly, because now I'll have a system to where, and where I'm setting up at, we'll record right there. I'll have my laptop right there. So I'm straight from recording. I'll go to editing, get everything done. So then it'll be a much seamless transition, a process from recording to editing to uploading and things like that. So like I said, it just kind of cuts out the built-in excuses of having to rely on other people or, they said they were going to do this and they didn't. I know I could have done it, but, I wanted them to show me if they were going to do it or not. Insert whatever you need to put in there. But it really just eliminates that. And, now it is, again, even though people will still be involved, it falls on me to get this out, put the product out there, be consistent with it, use this tool, use that tool, talk to this person, get this person on, whatever. And, I mean, I don't really feel like it adds any extra pressure or anything. It just is, again, like there's no other excuse except, either I want it or I don't.
Yeah.
And it's really that simple.
I have a question for you. What have been your highest highs of this year? And lowest lows if you want to talk about those, but highest highs.
My highest highs of this year, huh? That's a good question.
Look at me coming with the good questions, guys.
That's kind of hard. This year has not really. If you would have asked me this last year, I would have had plenty of answers for you. But I mean, for the most part, I'm pretty level-headed, and I don't let myself get too high or too low.
Okay.
And especially this year, since it really has just been a year of just trying to, just
lay a foundation.
Exactly. So, it really hasn't been too much. I mean, I've seen my friends, get married. My friend Abner, he's got married, having a baby. Jacob is doing his thing. He's got his girl. They got a house together. So seeing my friends, Ryan, we've had him on a couple times. He's getting married. So, just seeing my friends thrive and live their life and do what they do. I mean, I love that. I guess it's been around about a year since you got married now, a little bit over.
Yeah.
So, I just like seeing the people that I care about and the people around me, be happy and thrive and do what they do. Like, I guess that would be the high of it. The low, I mean.
That face.
I don't know, moving and having to fucking spend a fuck ton of money to move because that shit's expensive as shit. But I mean, even within that, like, now I have my own place and all that shit. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like this year has been pretty level.
Neutral. Especially
compared to 2023, where there was not so many highs, but very much a lot of lows and a lot of like, having to do a lot of self-reflecting.
2023 roughed you up a little bit.
Yeah, it did. I came out of 2023 with some black eyes and a torn Achilles.
Although I will say, dear viewers and listeners, that my brother officiated our wedding.
I did.
And my God.
Anybody in New Jersey is looking to get married.
What a wonderful job you did, truly. And I know I've said this to you before, but like, it was just the perfect mix of like, I wanted to set, I planned the whole wedding. I wanted to set like a romantic kind of setting, and
that's not me.
No, but it was a perfect balance because the setting was, I feel like the way that everything was set up, the songs that I picked for like walking down the aisles and stuff like that. And then you came and brought the levity that it needed. Like, my God, there are just whole pictures of us, both of us, me and Hunter, just open mouth, head thrown back laughing, because you were able, as you always have my whole life, you were able to bring the levity, bring the like, hey, this doesn't have to be so serious. Like, yeah, it's serious. We're so happy you guys love each other, but also like, let's have some fun with it. Yeah. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. Like, I appreciate that so much.
I do what I can. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I'm glad you love it,
and everyone else seemed to love it. Like, that was a good time. I know this was last year, but it was at the end of the year, so
it's around this time anyway. So
it was a good time.
Yeah, I definitely added my little spice
little
to
flair,
it.
Yeah, your little flair. It was good though. It was good. Man. I had so much fun.
Yeah, no, it was a good time for sure. But I mean, that was another moment again where, family was together, we were very much,
My God, I was nervous, people. I was very nervous. There was a lot of
I mean, that was the first time that, at least for me, that I've had both sides of the family together, and that I've seen that. And
no,
and
both sides of the family were together for my college graduation, and
I wasn't there.
You were there for undergrad, not for grad school, when we had the party
at UCF.
We had the party at our house. You.
Oh yeah. I remember now.
It was not. It didn't end well, people.
Yeah.
So
I left before that.
yes, you did leave before that. There was drama.
Yeah.
Again, our parents had us very young. This is the lore. Our families were friends before the parents got pregnant.
Yeah.
And then everyone was upset because they were teenagers. Nobody was upset at me. Everyone loves me. But
You're the glue.
but then the families were no longer friends. And so we had never seen them in the same room as like a happy thing. And so I started therapy in preparation for
see how everything starts tying in together.
the anxiety that I was gonna be dealing with the wedding. And then through some kind of magic of love and family, things were healed. Wounds were healed. People became friends again. We got pictures with our 3 living grandparents all together, something I never ever in a million years thought was going to happen. Like, my best case scenario was they're just not going to talk to each other, and that's fine. That's fine. And then I have a picture of Tito hugging Abuela and like comforting her, and, you know, pictures of freaking both sides of the family all together in one picture. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
How did
it
we
was kind
heal
of
these?
a surreal feeling.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
The next day, I went to dinner with Abuela, Tito Abueli, Titi Adriana, Titi Teresa, Jeremy, and Jeremy's mom, all at one table together.
Yeah, that is an odd mix.
It was crazy. Titi Teresa and Titi Adriana and I kept looking at each other like, is this real life? Is this really happening right now?
Yeah.
Because, dear reader, dear listener, it was not.
Yeah, it wasn't always like that.
No, it wasn't. So the fact that it all came together and everyone like put their shit aside and just had fun.
Well, I will say this.
If you're
you are the glue. So
I knew you were gonna say that shit.
But also, I do feel like the fact that Abuelo wasn't there, that also did play a part into it, and I feel like that was very much on people's minds.
Oh yeah.
And even if people weren't like directly affected by it, like it was still very much. And for people that I don't know, my grandfather on my dad's side, he passed away 2 years ago now.
In 2022,
yeah. So 2 years ago now, and he was very much so the life of the party, big personality. I could not find one person to say one bad thing about him.
I describe him as Puerto Rican Santa Claus.
That is a great way. He's very jolly all the time, but you know, and I've said this on here before, but you know, just seeing, even though it was sad and all, but seeing all the people that came by, and you know, in his dying moments and things like that was very like, oh shit, like
eye-opening for sure.
Yeah, and like eye-opening, but also very much like, I hope, you know, when I'm on my deathbed, I have this type of love and this type of. I bring this type of this energy and, you know, this kind of bringing people together and, you know, things like that. Even when things are bad, you know, people are still, you know, there were still people laughing, having fun, you know, things like that. So it definitely was eye-opening, but inspiring also in a sense.
Can I also just say that I was very proud of the way that our family handled that situation? Like, I was a little nervous because when people pass away or, you know, on their way of passing away, a lot emotions are high and people can get defensive and nasty and mean. You hear horror stories. Yeah. And I feel like everyone just came together. Everyone had their moments. There was no, well, he's my this, so you shouldn't be as sad as me and da-da-da. No, it was like everyone was allowed to have their emotions.
Well,
everyone
I feel
was like, I mean, and that's abuelo, definitely, but still, in those moments, you just never know how people are going to react.
For sure, but I feel like for me, at least, that definitely was like, it was very much like, damn, like, we already knew that he was like the, you know, bringing people together, wanting to have parties, this, that, whatever, but that really very much so for me was like, yeah, like, if there was ever a moment to show that, unfortunately, you know, the circumstances weren't the best, but like, showing that and like, exuding that and everything that came with it was like, he did live a good life. Because I remember, like, it was in August of that same year that I came up here with Abuelo and Abuela, and I think Titi Adriana was here too, but like everybody was out here, and me and him were right in there in that very kitchen, and he was pretty much telling me, "Damn."
It's okay. Take a moment.
He was telling me like, "Bro, I'm ready. Like,
Yeah.
this sucks. Like, I've lived a good life.
I know. That's all right. How is it that you're the one crying and not me? In case you're not aware, shit. I'm a sentimental soul and I cry all the time. I cried today, in fact.
I was wondering when the first time I was going to cry on this podcast.
Oh my God, it's with me. Of course it's with me.
No, but he just was very much like, you know, I've seen my children grow up. Yeah. I've seen my grandchildren grow up. Like, I've lived a great life and all this. And he just wasn't able to live how he wanted to anymore. So for me in that moment, I was sad, obviously, but it was very much like, all right, like, how much sadder can I really be if like he doesn't even want this anymore? Like if he's ready to go, like how selfish of me is it to want him to still be here when he can't do what he wants to do? Yeah. And in that moment, like that's when I was like, all right, this is what it's going to be moving forward. And I feel like that's also when I started really feeling the responsibility of like having to be more active and having to be more present and having to be, you know, just taking on certain responsibilities of, you know, just as we're growing older now, we're now becoming the elder statesmen and all that shit. So, you know, it is up to us to, you know, to keep people together, have get-togethers, things like that, which I was telling you earlier. Like, that's part of my motivation of where, you know, I have at this point, it's not really a New Year's. It's kind of like a 2-year plan of where I want my life to be. So then, you know, I can start hosting parties. I can, you know, when people are in Florida, come just stay with me. Like, it's no big deal.
I can't wait.
So, and, you know, like we've been saying, I'm the cool cousin. So, you know, y'all can have fun at my house.
I'm not the cool cousin. I'm only cool by association. I'm only cool because I'm his older sister.
Nah, you're cool. You passed the cool test. But yeah, so, I mean, that definitely, you know, for as shitty as it was, it definitely, you know, inspired me and motivated me to figure out what it is I'm going to do. What do I want to do? Whatever it is. All right, now that I know that I want to do, like, how am I going to get to where it's making me money, to where I can start, you know, investing in a house, you know, being able to do what it takes to host a party and have people over and things like that, you know, amongst other things. But I will, and I've said this before on the podcast, that as far as male figures in my life, he's probably the one that I've tried to mold myself in his image in a sense. And he's the one that I take the most from as far as just who I'm trying to be, how I want to live my life, and even not necessarily how we view the world and in our beliefs and anything like that.
But how you move in the world, though.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've kind of felt like that's always kind of been in me a little bit, but I've just kind of had to, like, 1, stop fighting it, and 2, tap into it. And, you know, just accept certain things about our family, about myself, about whatever it is, about life and all these things, and just understand that as long as I'm doing what I need to be doing, things will figure themselves out. Yeah. Maybe things don't necessarily play out how I want them to, but, you know, things are going to play out how they should.
I'm bad at that.
If I continue to do what I'm doing and continue on this path and continue to work at what I need to work at, again, it might not be exactly the vision that I have in my head that comes out in the real world, but it will be close enough to it that, hey, at least I know at least I knew I was working at it. And I say this all the time, like, you know, God willing, or what's not God willing, fucking God forbid, even though I'm not religious, you know, something happens and, you know, I get in a car crash tomorrow and that's it. Boom, no more. I at least know that in my head that I'm working towards the life that I want. I could die happy tomorrow. And that is a true statement. Because
but I'd rather you not, though.
Well, I don't want to either. Obviously, I don't want to either. But like, just the relationships that I've built, the way that, you know, my family views me, you can feel
proud of how
my friends view me, how people that I've had little interactions with talk about me, things like that. And again, not because even for me, it's not like that really matters that much, but it does hold some weight. Yeah. Because obviously, when I'm dead, like, I'm dead. That's it. There's no more, like, I don't know. Like, y'all could take my body and dump it in the back. Like, I'm not gonna fucking
Feed it
know.
to the
Like,
gators.
for real. Like, it's like that shit doesn't matter. Like, but it does as I'm alive right now, speaking, having thoughts. It does hold some weight that I do. You know, when I'm gone, I would like people to talk to me, talk about me in a certain way, and you know, I feel like I'm doing the right things to
Achieve
leave that
that.
type of legacy. So.
Nice.
Damn, Rachel.
What?
You got me crying on the podcast.
Listen, what are older sisters for if not to bring out the emotion?
Technically, I didn't cry. I just got a little
You got misty.
watery-eyed.
You got misty. That's all right. We'll get there.
Shit. One of these days, I will probably break out in a full ugly cry, but
Whatever.
not yet.
I ugly
You didn't
cry.
get me yet.
I ugly cry all the time. I ugly cried today when Tita Adriana and Abuela were leaving. I got so sad.
Did you really?
I did.
Oh shit, I missed it.
When Tita Adriana hugged, well, I hugged her like 5 times. So when she
I
hugged
was
me the
about to
first
say
time,
which time.
when she hugged me the first, well, I think almost every time I started tearing up. But when she hugged me the first time, I did start like, because I just miss this.
Yeah.
I miss this a lot. And again, I feel very grateful for the life that we've built and the people that I have around me and, you know, whatever. But there's just nothing like this.
Yeah.
There's nothing like being around the people that have known you your entire life, that love you for who you are, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter what shit you've gone through. Like, and especially for me, especially with like the Aponte side of the family, I feel the most like I can be the most myself, and I don't have to worry about judgment. And I don't have to worry about, oh, I said the wrong thing, I did the wrong thing, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just joy and love, and everyone, and again, because I'm not here, everyone's just happy to see me.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's a different feeling. It's a freeing feeling of being like, oh, I don't have to explain myself. I don't have to anything. You know me.
Yeah.
You know. And I miss that. I miss that, having that consistently. I mean, and Hunter, as you know, like, definitely accepts me and loves me for who I am, even though I fight it sometimes. I'm like, you don't know. And he's like, I do know. Like, you don't know me. And he's like, I do. I do know you. I think I'm more complicated than I actually am. But you know, he's one person, and that history of, you know, it's not quite there yet. Yeah. We have some history, definitely. I am now starting to be like, when was that? How long ago was that? but it's not in the same way. Yeah. And again, I came from being around everyone all the time to not. So that's still something that I do get. I think it's, you know, I used to say I was homesick, and it's not that I'm homesick. It's that I miss my people. Yeah. I miss the fam. I miss the get-togethers and the, you know, the impromptu fucking parties and hangouts and, you know, round table bitching sessions and who we talking shit on today. But it's that stuff that I miss, you know, and again, I have it to a certain extent. You know, I definitely have built a friend network, a friend circle. Yeah. You know, and Hunter is amazing and wonderful, and I can't say enough good things about him, but it just, I don't know. You're my people.
That we are.
You're my people. I mean, are you kidding? We talk every week. I talk to you every week. I talk to Mom every week. I talk to Julia. Every, you know, few weeks I talk to Dad. He's just busy as hell. Yeah. Almost every day I talk to Tita Adriana. We talk almost every day on our way to work. So I've worked hard to maintain those relationships, but there's something about being physically in person with you guys that it's like, oh my God, I can be weird. I can break out into random song. I can make weird noises. I can, like, you know, start dancing like a crazy person, and everyone's just like, yeah, that's just another day.
Truly, it's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Truly is.
It is.
Now we just gotta work on the other side of the family.
Well, yeah, we can only do so much. I feel like I am really proud of our cousin group. I think, to me, that's where I'm putting my energy because
Same.
as you said, like, we're the adults now, like, and we have all moved to different places at this point. On that side, more of us are out of Florida than in Florida.
Yeah.
I think you're the only one still in Florida.
Yep.
And so you have to work to maintain those relationships. And I feel very proud of how we've done so far. You know, we're doing our yearly cousin trips. We're, you know, at least I think the one that I talk to the least is maybe Ale, but even still, like, I still talk to her pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel very proud of the fact that, like, we've been able to maintain a close relationship, a close bond, and it feels like everyone understands the weight of that. Like, in the five of us, everyone understands the weight of that and wants to maintain that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just being driven by one or two people. It's like everyone is like, no, we have to keep this going.
Yeah, well, I think recent events have kind of expedited that, and like,
For
you know,
sure.
we were definitely, you know, it was definitely, I felt like it was one or two people that were like, you know, more of the driving force.
It
of
was
things.
me.
You're the glue, so.
Shut up.
But now, yeah, I mean, recent events on either side of the family have kind of definitely like shown and like
Put a light on that,
there you go, have put a light on the fact that it's like, yeah, we got to make this happen if we want it to, if we want to maintain these relationships, if, you know, we want to go on trips, if we want to do this, if we want to do that, like, it is on us now to do this shit.
And people are coupling up. People are starting to, you know, build their own families and own things like that. And so it just, again, shines a light on the fact that if we want to maintain this, we have to work at it. But I feel thus far, I feel really proud of how we've done. Yeah. You know,
for sure.
Like I said, at least I talk to almost everyone on a weekly basis at this point. And we've had our cousin trips, and I think we're continuing to do cousin trips, and you know, whatever chances we get to hang out. And like, when we do hang out, we really do, like, I think, make the most of it.
We cut up, we hang out for real.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's fun because we all like each other, like, for legitimately like each other, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not I'm here because I have to be. It's like, I'm here because I actually genuinely want to be.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case.
No, it's not. You're born into a family. You don't choose them. So luckily, we love the family we were born into.
Yup. Flaws and all, baby.
Yeah. But I mean, just to kind of give it a wrapping up point. Hey, if you want something, whether it's relationship, whether it's a certain goal in whatever new year or whatever, whether it's, you know, trying to work on yourself, you know, like Rachel was saying, like I've said many times on this podcast, if you feel like it's worth something, you got to put effort into it. If you do that, you will reach, if not the whole goal, some semblance of the goal. And that's a lot better than just thinking what if, and I could be doing this, and just, you know, giving yourself a million reasons not to do it. Just do it. You know, you'd be surprised how far you get if you just put your head down. You know, 3 months, 6 months go by and you look up, and you'll be amazed at how much work you can get done, and, you know, what type of person you are, and, you know, all the things that go into that. So if you feel like it's worth it, put time into it. Rachel, thank you for being a guest again on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no doubt. You're a great guest because you talk. So
I talk a lot. I
give one question and you answer five of them.
I get it from our mama.
So I'm sure next time you're down here, we'll do this again. Yes, and
always.
Yeah, this is episode 201 on the No Hangover podcast. Everybody love everybody. Deuces. Bye out.
Nice.